The Reds avoided the sweep and everybody got going all at once. We'll tell you who had the best day yesterday on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 seasons, and we're glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Cincinnati Reds, every single day. And on today's show, we're going to give you a couple of injury updates, including to TJ Friedl and Rhett Lowder later on in the show. We're also going to preview the Ohio Cup as it begins tonight. The latest installment of the vaunted trophy series, the rivalry that the nation has been waiting for. That's coming up in just a few minutes. But we will begin today's show by looking at the day that a couple of guys had. It was a good day for the Reds, but it was better for a couple of guys. We'll say who it was best for. That's all coming up on today's Locked On Reds podcast. That is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to save $20 off your first purchase. All right, Steve, it was a great day at the ballpark for the Red Legs. They put everything together, and yes, in the grand scheme of things, that was a horrible series, but at least you got out with one win, and everything was coming together. But there are four guys that I'm looking at that had a better than everyone else day. Nick Martinez, Elly Cruz, Matt McLain, and Will Benson. And that's where we're gonna start off, man, because choo-choo, you hear that? Choo-choo. Oh, yep, that's the hype train. It's coming into town. Will Benson is back, baby, and he was conscripted into service in center field because of TJ Friedl's wrist injury, which we will update later on in the show. And, man, he played awesome. His glove was golden, his arm was a cannon, and his bat looked like the 2023 version of himself.
Oh, you're gonna hurt yourself. Okay, 2 for 3, scored a run, 3 RBIs, had a walk, did strike out one time. Batting average sits as a cool 278 right now, Jeff. Back-to-back good games from him. I'm not
we do
going
need to see more. I will.
I'm not going to poo-poo it. The question that's on the table is who had the best day yesterday. And he had one of the better days yesterday. Looking at his numbers, maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be here right now if it had not been a desperation move. I really do think the Reds had given up on him. Now, that being said, he's going to get to play some right now. Maybe he can change their mind, but he's not the only guy that had a good day. My boy, Matty McLain, right there with him, 2 for 3, scored 2 runs, had an RBI, had a walk. Unlike your boy, Will Benson, my guy did not strike out in this game, just saying, but he didn't get as many opportunities for RBIs because, your dude kept clearing the bases, and that's fine. I'll take these two battling it out. I like that we've seen a lot of hits, but we've had hits in each of the games now that Matt McLain has dropped lower in the order. When Terry Francona listened to us, I think it took off some of the pressure. I think it allowed Matt to relax a little bit or motivated him a little bit. Either way, I like what we've seen so far. Batting average is still ugly. He's got a long way to go, but I have liked what I've seen from Matt McLain.
Well, and I think, too, the move down in the order like that, it also, sort of puts a smokescreen on the opposing pitcher. The opposing pitchers know who these guys are. It's not as if Matt McLain would surprise anybody on the opposing team at this moment, but there's just a human element to being a pitcher where you get down toward the bottom of the order and your shoulders drop a little bit. You relax a little bit more. You're like, I'm going to pump some fastballs, fill up the strike zone. Let's turn this lineup over and keep on rolling. And Matt McLain's like, not so fast, my friend, because he was hitting the ball super hard on Thursday. Really looked like, it kind of looked like a renaissance, Steve. I am holding up a microscope next to a magnifying glass, and I've got all the light shining on Matt McLain right now, and I'm looking for any signs of life, and I saw quite a bit on Thursday.
Wasn't just the hitters that got things done against the White Sox yesterday, Jeff. Nick Martinez had that that seven inning start, we wondered if he was going to be able to pull off, right? We wondered if he was going to be able to stick around and complete 7 full innings. Well, he did. Again, it was the White Sox, but 7 innings of work, only allowed 2 hits in those 7 innings. Jeff struck out 3, magic number. He walked nobody.
He hasn't walked a soul in his last 3 starts, and we're starting to see that Nick Martinez that we saw later on in 2024. Like his last 3 starts, Steve, he's got 3 earned runs combined, 0 walks, and I think he's got 14 strikeouts. If I remember right, I forgot to write that down. It would be easier to remember things if you write them down, but it's looked a lot better since the month has turned to May. And I mean, we've seen some good stuff from him. He's actually, if you look at Baseball Reference right now, in the top 5 in WAR for the team. He crossed the 1.0 threshold. He's at 1.1 right now. And I think we're starting to see where we said early on this season that the Reds were surprised that he picked up the qualifying offer. I think we're starting to see why they were okay gambling that he did, because we are seeing some really good performances, and where everybody was ready to kick him out of the rotation after like 2 starts, you cannot do that now.
No, you can't. And well, for a couple reasons. One, I mean, what are you going to do? But also, I like this because if this Nick Martinez keeps going out there and pitching and a surplus develops here in the dog days as we get close to the trade deadline, you've got some options for a bopper. And I like that lane. I know everybody's like, trading for, no, we're not one win changing our opinion that this team might be a seller, but it can't hurt to have a valuable trade chip either way, whether you're a buyer or a seller.
No, and what he has done so far, these last 3 starts has made me super excited. The other guy, we got to shout him out though, because it just feels like when he has a good game, we just kind of go, well, yeah, sure, he had a good game. He's supposed to have a good game. He's Elly Cruz. He went 2 for 3 with a solo home run, and the solo home run, Steve, I kind of want to focus in a little bit more on, because it wasn't just like, man, he got a hold of one, pulled it out to right field. This was an Oppo taco on a breaking ball low and away. What did everybody say? The moment that Elly Cruz came up, they're like, oh my gosh, is he just going to be another version of Aristides Aquino where he goes crazy, but pitchers find that one pitch that they can throw to him and he can't touch? That pitch does not exist for Elly Cruz. There is no kryptonite for a pitcher to just go up there and throw this one pitch that Elly cannot get to, because this one, like, he did that kind of thing where he sort of dropped low, extended his arms, and threw the bat at it. Looking at Savant, like, the bat speed was not crazy. He's had a couple of like 80-mile-an-hour swings so far this year, Steve, because he's awesome. This one was a regular one, like 74 miles an hour, poked it Oppo taco left center field, looked amazing.
So I agree with you. Those are probably the 4 guys that we're looking at. As far as Elly goes, yeah, we need him to get hot. We need this game, like he had yesterday, to be his norm again. We need to see more of that. So yes. Looking at the 4 guys you're picking, and God help us, yeah, I think it's Will Benson. I think that the fact that he came up clutch and delivered multiple RBIs and has had several good games in a row, we'll give him a little hat tip. We'll give him a little recognition. You're still on that bumper car alone. You're still on that bumper car alone, brother. You're a one-man fan club, and that's fine. But I'll
know
give
at
credit.
Least one more person.
I'll give credit where credit is due and say that Will Benson has had a nice little streak here. You look at the other guys, Elly, you're right. That's what he's supposed to do. Matt McLain, he's going to be a superstar. He's going to come around. Good game, but and Nick Martinez, it was the White Sox. That's what was supposed to happen. So I'm going with what's not supposed to happen, and that was Will Benson being your center fielder and having a game like that. So I'll give it to Will.
And Terry Francona said all the right stuff after the game. Yeah, we love it. We like it. We love to see the win. Hopefully this turns into more, because we got to back it up tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of backing it up tomorrow, that's today, and the Ohio Cup gets underway in the city of Cincinnati. We're going to be talking about. I do that a lot. Just stop. The Francona Cup coming your way. We're talking about that coming up next.
And you didn't know it.
Want to make sure you're in the stands to watch your Cincinnati Reds battle for the Ohio Cup? Well, you can do that with Game Time. Just head over to the Game Time app right now. They've got cool features that are going to let you get into the ballpark at a greatly discounted price. If you don't know the seats that you're getting, you can have a view from your seats. Jeff and I talk about this all the time. We head down to the banks, we find our spot, we grab a drink, we grab something to eat. And as we get close to first pitch, we jump on the Game Time app. It gives us all in pricing. It lets us know exactly what we are going to pay. No surprises at checkout. It lets us look at the view from the seat. We've got the ballpark memorized at this point, but we use it on the road too. So when we're going to places we don't know, it helps us pick the seats that we want, and it gives us great deals. Game Time has last minute tickets with low prices. So make sure you download that Game Time app and create your account. And if you use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply with that, but you just download that app, create your account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Make sure you are subscribed to the Locked On Reds podcast so you do not miss any of the great content we've got coming your way all season long. Jeff and I on the Locked On Reds podcast Monday through Friday. Tim Daniel joins you each and every day post game, after every game for the postcast, talking to you about what just happened and, some special stuff along the way. So make sure you're subscribed either here on YouTube, click that notification bell as well, or in any of the audio feeds. All right, Jeff, we try, right? We try to be like the Ohio Cup. We try to be like, this rivalry that's not a rivalry that Major League Baseball wants to be a rivalry. It's a little more interesting now, right? The Francona Cup is something that we can kind of all get behind maybe. And really, if it's time for the Reds to back it up, if today is the day of days that they turn a corner, who better to do it against than Francona's old team, the Cleveland Guardians?
And who would it be more surprising to do it against but Cleveland's ace, Tanner Bibee, who will be on the mound tonight? The Reds the Guardians actually have a pretty solid starting pitching staff. It's going to be key for the Reds to get into their bullpen because even though Emmanuel Clase has been like the standard as far as closers are concerned over the last couple of years, he has been very vulnerable this season with a 4.91 ERA. And as much as ERA is not really something that you use when you talk about relief pitchers, he's given up a lot of hits. In 18 and a third innings, he's given up 25 hits behind him. So I really expect the Guardians to really use their starters a lot in this series if the Reds are going to allow them to be as efficient as they allowed the White Sox starting pitchers. Not a sentence I thought I would say. Then it's going to be very tough for the Reds to get some wins in the series.
Yeah, and going up against the Guardian ace is Brady Singer, who's coming off his worst start as a Red. He got absolutely smashed in his last outing against the Astros. 2 1/3 innings, 9 hits, 7 earned runs, walked a guy, struck out a guy, gave up a homer. He just got absolutely pasted. He's definitely going to be looking to rebound. And starting pitchers aren't 100% every single time. The greatest of the greats have a bad day on the mound as a starting pitcher. So I'm not worried about Brady Singer, but I do want to see a strong rebound performance. Sometimes we find guys that get beat around like that. They have 3 bad starts in a row and we find out something was injured and they didn't say something or along those lines, right? So I want to see a good start from Brady Singer. I want to see him go back out and do his thing that he's been doing. He's been really good at limiting the amount of runs he's given up. He's been really good at limiting walks. He's been really good at getting strikeouts. So I want to see that Brady Singer on the mound today against Cleveland.
What's going to be interesting from the Guardians pitching side of this as well is a couple of things. They just placed Ben Lively, former Red, on the injured list, so we will not see him in this series. And they have a stretch of 12 days without an off day that begins for them today. So their pitching is going to be something that they're going to be monitoring very closely. With Ben Lively out, kind of looking at who could be pitching this weekend, we could see Logan Allen pitching for the Guardians. And then the other guy that I'm thinking we might see is former Pirate Luis Ortiz. They got Luis Ortiz for basically a box of chocolates. And I think that he's kind of turned things around a little bit. His ERA at 4.78 isn't fantastic, but it's much better than it was when he was a Pirate. And I feel like if anybody's going to fix a pitcher, it's going to be Cleveland. They just know what they're doing with pitching up there. So it's going to be interesting to see who starts in this series, because if you look on the At-Bat app, or if you look on the Reds website or something like that, the starters for the Guardians for Saturday and Sunday is TBD. So knock on wood.
You never know with that guy, right?
Knock on wood. That's not the Reds that are saying TBD. That's the Guardians that are saying TBD. If we get a bullpen game against them, that could be something that the Reds really need to hustle on.
If that's going to happen, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the second game of this series on Saturday, Jeff, because for the Reds, oh boy, Chase Petty, let's run it back one more time. He's going to get his third start of the season, Jeff. And as we know, in the first two starts, things didn't exactly go Chase's way. In fact, they didn't go anywhere near his way, because he got
6 walks.
He got hammer smashed
pitches
in both of those outings. So you look at what he's done, and 2 starts, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 0-2 with a 21.94 ERA. Strikeouts per 9 is great, 11.8. Cool. Guess what? Walks per 9, 13.5.
No, you don't love that number at all. I wonder this, because it's another start for him. And I'm not saying that like the only reason to play certain players is to, whether increase or decrease their trade value. But I almost wonder if another bad start like this lessens his value on the trade market come trade deadline season. Like if the Reds do fancy themselves buyers, like, do you think it damages him?
So the thing that Chase Petty had going for him at the beginning of this year, Jeff, was he was on that conversation list of this guy's ready. He's ready to just any day now. He's going to be in a major league rotation. And a good start from him tomorrow, maybe it helps quell those fears a little bit. But in those 2 starts, it wasn't that, he's a rookie trying to adjust. It wasn't that, he's a young guy thrown into a bad situation. That second start, he had time to prep. What it looks to me like is he's just not quite ready for prime time. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to pan out. I'm just saying he wasn't as close as everybody was making him out to be. He's 22 years old. He was a guy that was drafted out of high school. He didn't get his time at Vandy or in the SEC or all these other places that some of these more polished rookies that have come up of late got to do. Chase Petty didn't even get
time in the Gulf South Conference.
He's learning on the fly. So for me, he's here because it's an emergency, and Rhett Lowder is not ready yet. A little more on Rhett Lowder coming up here in just a little bit. But Chase Petty is going to take his lumps, I think. He's going to go back down and hopefully apply those lessons, work on some things in Louisville, because he still has things to learn there. And then we'll see him again, probably not till next year.
I want to see 5 innings and more strikeouts than walks. I know he cannot totally control like the number of hits or the number of runs that are against him, but control what you can control. Give me more strikeouts than walks and give me 5 innings, because his first couple of starts, he hasn't even gotten 4 innings. So 5 innings would feel like a massive win, I think, for Chase Petty. And I think that he's probably this should hopefully, all things being equal, and I'm knocking on wood a lot in this show, but I'm knocking on wood on this because Hunter Green should be ready to go for the next start, for the next spot where this day would come up in the rotation. So this should be his last bit in the major leagues for a little bit. Kind of like you said, I wonder a little bit about the health of the rotation. If we don't see him again later on this season, that could still be a possibility if the Reds don't trade him. But yeah, I wonder about that a little bit. And then of course you got the start on Sunday where we just need to see Andrew Abbott shove. And because he did a nice job in his last outing, let's build on it. Let's put it together. Let's start stacking starts that are impressive.
He's very quietly racking it up, man. It's going to be a 7th start of the season. In his previous 6, he's thrown 30 innings, Jeff. He has struck out 38 during that time. His strikeouts per 9, 11.4. His walks per 9, little higher than we'd like to see him. They're at 3.6. I'd like to see him rein that in just
But that's
a
not
little
horrible,
bit more.
right? That's still
but it's
soft,
not horrible. It's,
Yeah.
three is the number where we talk about great versus okay, right? And he's just a little over that at 3.6. I'm happy with how he's performed for this team. He's often the forgotten man, right? We talk about Lodolo, we talk about Hunter Green, we talk about what Brady Singer brought as far as a stabilizing factor. We talk about Nick Martinez's contract. We don't spend a whole lot of time talking about Andrew Abbott, and he just kind of goes out there and does his thing. The more Andrew Abbott pitches from a work ethic standpoint, the more he reminds me of Tom Browning from back in the day. He shows up, he does his work, he does his thing. He's not flashy at all. He's a good old boy, and he just is kind of there. And that sums up Andrew Abbott. I really like what he's doing right now. And you're right. This rotation needs him to just continue to be that guy each time he goes out there.
And from the hitting side of things, Will Benson's getting hot at the right time to face his former team. Maybe he can do a little Brandon Phillips and be like, "Hey, Cleveland, you traded me.
Be like
I'm going to go like 7 for 7."
Are you really trying to set up like the Will Benson revenge tour now? We're one day back on the bumper car. Oh my God.
Well, I know this, Steve. I'm looking forward to a good series this weekend of the Ohio Cup. Bring the trophy home, boys. Bring it home. Now, for some injury updates, because TJ Friedl should be back this weekend, and Rhett Lowder has another rehab start on tap. The baseball season is rolling right along, and with the playoffs heading into the conference final stages in the NBA and in the NHL, there's no better way to take advantage of all the action than over on FanDuel. They're America's #1 sportsbook and the official sportsbook of Locked On, and they've got a great deal for new users right now. You can create an account, and your first $5 bet that wins get you $200 in bonus bets. Plus, I'm looking at maybe putting that $5 on this Guardians Reds game here tonight. The money line is interesting because right now the Guardians are slightly favored. They're at -116. The Reds are at -102. But what intrigues me the most is the over-under 9 total runs for the game. Say it with me. Take the under. Yeah, that's right. I'm telling you to take the under. I think it's got a pitching duel with Tanner Bibee and Brady Singer on the mounds for both teams. Take the under. 9 total runs for the Reds and the Guardians tonight over on FanDuel. Use that $5. Get yourself $200 in bonus bets today at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. We're seriously on all of them out there. Make sure you check it out today. And Steve, before we get into the injury,
before we get into anything, I was just listening to your ad read there with FanDuel. And do you remember what happened the last time you told everybody to take the under in a series? Do you remember?
Went crazy. I said
the Reds had a 14-run game in that series. I'm just saying.
Maybe I should say take the under all the time. You're right. I should say take the under all the time instead of take the over, which I usually say. And also before we jump into the injury reports as well, I've got a couple of people reaching out to me on this one. Brandon Drury cut by the White Sox. No, I'm not interested. He couldn't break the major league roster of the Chicago White Sox. Why did the Reds want him? Anyway. Injury reports. TJ Friedl pinch ran on Wednesday. Terry Francona says he should be ready to go. He's hoping he's hoping he's ready to go on Friday. About misquoted the manager there.
Today.
Yeah, should be ready to go today.
The lineups aren't out at the time of recording. We'll know when we know.
Which should mean for me, he plays center. Will Benson slots over into right field, and we feel a lot better about right field than we have felt in a little while.
For sure, defensively. Speaking of the right field, before we get into these injuries, hear me throwing you a curveball in the third segment because I love it. Connor Joe versus Rhys Hines. What?
Give me all the Rhys Hines. I don't know why we keep running Connor Joe out there.
What are we doing?
Yeah. I think there's an element of Nick Krall, knocking on the door. Like, hey, Terry, listen, I got you a right fielder, man. I got you the guy. You should like this guy. And just every time he fills out the lineup card, he writes Hines and then he scratches it out and he writes Joe. He's like, all right, here we go. Or whatever. I don't buy it. Like, I just don't understand constantly going to him. I want Rhys Hines out there, if anything, because I feel like he's a guy that if you give him a lot of time, I think he might blossom into something. It's just the Reds have not been in that position these last couple of years to be like, we can give a guy time. So now you
and
can.
I want to
You
know
don't
already. I want to know. I want to know
Yeah.
what Rhys Hines going to do. I understood his uses last year, and I get why and how they used him. And I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it. I don't understand this. Connor Joe, and I've been a fan of Connor Joe. If you recall when he did that spring against that spring in Reds camp, we talked a lot about him and a lot about that. We kind of liked what he brought as far as versatility and work ethic and those kind of things. But I would much rather know what's going on with Rhys Hines.
You know what Rhys Hines is? Rhys Hines is that pack of baseball cards that you just got from the store, and until you open it, you don't know what it is. And the Reds they've not opened it yet. They've not opened the Rhys Hines pack, and so I really want them to do that.
I'm so glad that wasn't a Star Wars reference.
All
right, let's talk about Rhett Lowder.
You want to make it? I can make it.
No, I don't want you to. Let's talk about Rhett Lowder. He's the droid we're looking for. I beat you to it.
Yes, he is. Rhett Lowder making a rehab start for Dayton tonight. Sadly, not in Dayton. Dayton's on the road, but making another rehab start for Dayton tonight. I would expect that if things are going well, they probably move him on up to Louisville, or they just continue to increase his pitch count. It's not as if it matters the quality or the caliber of competition that he's facing right now. It's just that he gets his pitches in and that he recovers well the next day. But he's pitching again tonight. Wade Miley pitched again a couple of days ago for Louisville. I still tend to believe that Rhett Lowder will be ready before Wade Miley, and that everything's going to work itself out as it's, pertains to all of these guys. But it's going to be nice to see the bona fide depth rather than, somebody just went on the IL. We got to call Chase Petty back up again.
And then on the offensive side, the position players, Jeff, not a lot of real updates going on other than, as you mentioned, TJ Friedl being around, coming back from the bone bruise. I'm glad for that. Some of these other guys, are you surprised that we're not hearing more about anybody else?
CES. Yeah, there have been no updates on either one of those guys. In fact, the last update that I remember about Candelario is that he got another injection it was CES. CES got another injection. The last update that I heard on that, which doesn't make me think, oh, he's close. And Candelario, it's just been very did the Reds actually do what we were thinking and just put him on the IL for the rest of his contract? Is that what we're doing now? We're just not going to, there's no update on him because quite frankly, we're not trying to remove him off the IL. No, I'm with you though. I'm a little bit. And
I wonder, maybe Candelario is just not coming back. You can't put somebody on the injured list with no bat speed, but you can put him on with the other things that he's gotten. Maybe he's just if I just sit right here and stay hurt, kind of ride out this short-term injury, I can just collect my money and not be embarrassed.
He's gonna find something's gonna happen there. And then on the bullpen side of things, both Ian Jabot and Sam Maul are progressing well in their rehab outings. I would expect that they'd be ready here soon, especially if the Reds do need a fresh arm. I kind of want to see Sam Maul just continue what he has been doing, because here recently he looks like he's had much better control, and that was just not existent before he hit the IL. So that's going to be the big key for me.
It'd be really good to get Sam Maul back in this big league bullpen. There are some guys that are in this bullpen right now that I could probably do without having in this bullpen. So for me, let's get Sam Maul back up here. Ian Jabot, I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, maybe I could be talked into that being, I don't know.
I almost feel like there's an outing coming up where Scott Barlow is going to pitch, and then the next day he's going to hit the IL because he's pitched too much.
Yep. And
then they'll call up Ian Jabot. And then for Sam Maul, for me, the question for him, and this will be our final question of the podcast, Sam Maul or Taylor Rogers? Because I know what you're going to look. I know what someone's going to look at right now, they're going to look at, but Taylor Rogers has a 1.72 ERA. I submit yesterday's appearance as the reason why ERA for relievers is not that big of a deal.
Yeah, Taylor Rogers is walking 4 guys per 9. Taylor Rogers has been
get it, man.
Not, if I got to pick between the two, I'm taking Sam Maul each and every time. Taylor Rogers, I think the Giants knew something that nobody else knew when this deal was made, and they were just like, oh my God, whew, when that trade went down. So look, nothing against Taylor Rogers, but he has been like, if you were to describe him as underwhelming thus far, that would be you.
That'd be an understatement.
It's understatement. Underwhelming. So yeah,
because
I'm taking Sam Maul every time.
It's just so weird because, like, yes, the one stat that anybody looks at for a pitcher, like, 1.72 ERA, he's like really good. Strikeouts per 9 is bleh. Walks per 9 is bleh. Hits per 9 is bleh. Like he's got a whip of 1.3. I just don't. Yeah, I kind of, and obviously they're going to keep him on that. You're not going to send somebody down with a 1.72 ERA, but he's going to blow up soon, and then Sam Maul's going to replace him.
Yeah, there you go. All right, that is where we're going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Reds podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. Make sure you are subscribed so you get all of our content in your feeds. Now that you've made us your first listen, go make my buddy Sully over at the Locked On MLB podcast your second listen. He is covering all of the happenings from sea to shining sea nationwide going on in Major League Baseball. Sully's got you covered. Until next time we are in your feeds, we're going to gather up the news, the rumors, the reports, the information. We're going to bring it all right back here to keep you locked on Reds every single day. I beat you to the Star Wars reference. I know. Never mind, Will Benson. I beat you to the Star Wars reference.
No, see, I put it in every segment now. Will Benson in every segment.
Lord, help us.